Okay. So we will start, for most of us, we'll start in standing. But if you already know that your energy level needs you to be seated and you just want to start, you're going to sit on your butt, maybe in a cross-legged position just for the little check-in. And then you'll just move from that position. So just to start, find a nice even stance with your seat or seat on the ground, and then just one hand to the belly, one hand to your heart. Close your eyes down just for a moment or just soften your gaze. And then just take a second here. Just allow a little time to let your focus come inward. And get a sense of how you're feeling energetically. Get a sense of how you're feeling emotionally. And then get a sense of how you're feeling physically. So just notice how your physical body is feeling right now at this moment. And then before we move away from this place of stillness, just take a moment to set an intention here to honor your mind and your body throughout your practice, never doing anything in your practice that would cause your body pain, and treating yourself with love, care, and respect. Awesome. And then with that intention set, if you got a sense that you could really use a practice that's more low to the ground and seated, take a second to sit down onto your butt, take your legs out nice and wide, and it's going to be a nice wide fold from there. But if you want that little extra action for the shoulders and you want to take that forward fold in a standing position, then you're going to step your feet to a nice wide position with your yoga strap or your TheraBand behind the back with the palms facing backwards. You're going to get a nice grip so that the arms can move pretty freely away from your body, and then fold yourself over and let your arms fall away. So you choose the version and the variation that works best for you. A seated version if your body requires that, and then an upstanding position if that feels like where you're at this evening. And then once you've got your way there, invite a sense of softness in whichever version you've chosen. If you're in the standing version, just take a moment to notice, make sure your shoulders feel comfortable with the work that you're doing and that your feet feel comfortable on the ground. If you get into this position and you're there and then suddenly you're like, no, I think I'd rather sit down, take the time, sit down onto your butt, find that wide leg position, and then just fold forward from there. But if it feels okay in that standing position, just invite some soft heaviness into the arms and the shoulders. There is some efforting in your grip. And then if you're in the seated position, take a second to tune in. How do your inner thighs feel? Is it too intense? Do you need to walk your legs a little bit closer, or have you lost sensation and you need to move them further apart? And then just make sure that there's a soft, gentle bend in your knees so that we're not pulling against the hamstring muscles too much. And that make sure that the insertion point at your butt, so where your hamstrings meet the butt, make sure that there's no shooting pain up into that area. Take one more breath. And then if you're in that standing version and you've got the shoulder over, start by just releasing your handhold, let your hands find the ground, and then start to bend your knees so that you can just kind of step your butt down onto the ground. If you're in that seated position, go ahead and stay in that seated position, but now we're going to pull the legs in towards each other. And then we're going to find a little bit of a Sukhasana position just for a second. So come down into your seated position with your legs crossed. And then once you're there, just drop one ear over to your shoulder. We're going to work both sides and we're just staying for a couple of cycles of breath. So just let one ear drop over to your shoulder, soften your jaw, take a nice deep breath in. Slow breath out. Wonderful. And then lift your head to center and then take it over to the other side. Same thing on this side. We're just staying for a breath or two just to kind of get a little bit of sense of how your neck feels and your shoulder feels. Take one more breath. Nice. And then lift your head to center. And now we're going to open up our crisscross of our legs just a little bit. So we're going to swing the heels forward. We're still going to stay cross at the ankle. And now we're going to crisscross our arms. So notice which leg is on top and then take that up. So the leg that's on top, take that hand, reach across, grab your other knee, and then take your other hand, reach across and grab your other knee. So we get that little opposite crisscross going on. So now with that wider position and that crisscross in the ankles, with that handhold on your knees, you're going to round your back. So you're going to let your handhold on those knees keep you in this sort of stationary position. So we round the back, round the shoulders, and then tuck your chin into your chest. And we're only here for 1 minute for this particular position, and then we'll tune in and we'll notice, and then we'll go over to the other side. So allow yourself to get kind of soft and heavy here. If you can, notice the space between your shoulder blades and just kind of notice the breath there. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly bring yourself up. So start by lifting up through the spine, unlace your arms, and then we're going to switch the cross in the leg. So the other leg is going to come on top. We're going to keep that wide position, and then we're going to crisscross the other side. So the opposite hand is going to reach across. Once you've got your little crisscross arms, lean back again. So find that rounded back position with the chin tucking into the chest, creating that space between the shoulder blades. So hopefully that's where you're feeling a little bit of that awareness of breath, right between the shoulder blades and the back side of the body. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, come up just a little bit, lift your spine, unlace your arms, maybe even shrug your shoulders out just a little bit. And now we're going to uncross the legs, but keep that nice bent knee position. And then the last minute of work is going to be that Eastern stretch. So fingers pointing towards the butt, you're going to push into your hands so you get that nice squeeze between the shoulder blades and the opening in the chest. Once you've got your way there, just see if you can soften just a little bit through the upper neck and or the neck and the shoulder. So see where within this position can you find softness even though there's efforting going on. So you're pushing into your hands, shoulder blades are squeezing together. So you're getting an opening through the front of the chest and the collarbones. But now can you maybe let your chin tuck to your chest, soften your shoulders, soften your jaw. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly release. So think about just kind of lifting up your spine, shrug out your shoulders, and then come back to your comfortable seated position. And then we're going to come back to that head and neck stretch. So just drop one ear over to your shoulder. Take a second here to just notice. Take a nice deep breath in. Slow breath out. No right or wrong, but notice if it feels a little different than the first time you came here. And then when you're ready, lift your head up to center and then take it over to the other side. And then same thing here, just tune in and notice. Notice if it feels the same, different. No right or wrong, but just notice. Nice. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, lift your head up to that neutral position. And now we're going to swing our legs out into our deer pose or our zigzag seat. And I'm going to tell you two different ways that you can set your legs up. So one position would be more like our deer seat. So one leg is out in front and one leg is out to the side. But you can also keep both legs kind of together like you're sitting a little bit side saddle. So if you prefer that little bit legs together position, either one will work fine. But then we're going to find the knee that's out in front or the leg that's out in front or the leg that's the knee is slightly in front of the other, and that's the hand that's going to reach up, and we're going to find a side bend. So with it, whatever seat that you like, find your seat and then find your side bend. And you can reach your top hand up, or you can let your hand rest behind you. So you just check in and notice, how are your shoulders feeling? You're still going to get a side bend. It's just with that hand up and overhead, you just go just a little bit more. You get that little bit of extra leverage. So find the version that feels good, and then see where can you invite softness in. Can you soften your top arm? Can you soften your jaw? We're halfway through our hold on this side, so do a quick little check-in. If that top arm has become a little too much and it's a little fatiguing, you always have the option to just tuck it behind you. So we want to keep the top shoulder drawing back slightly, but not rounding forward. But really what we're shooting for is that stretch through the side body, and more specifically down where the side body meets the hip and the low back area. So if you need to drop that arm down, go ahead and do it. But if it feels okay to be there, breathing nice and steady, soften your jaw, soften your gaze, notice your breath. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, come out nice and slow. So if that arm is still up and overhead, start by releasing it, come up nice and easy, shrug your shoulders out, move your head and neck just a little bit, just kind of release anything you may have come across there. And then when you're ready, we're going to swing it right to the other side. So either you set up in your deer seat with one leg in front, one leg out to the side, or maybe you prefer that little bit of a side saddle seat, but whichever way you like to sit, we've got that side bend. So find that top arm reach, and then find a little stillness within that position. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly bring yourself out. So release that arm down. Take a second to unwind your legs or spin them out in front of you. And then with some nice, generous bend in the knees, just rock your knees a little side to side. Cool. Next up, we're going to go into fire log pose. So we're going to stick with the sort of crisscross position with the legs, but now we're going to see if we can take that top leg, lift it up and stack it so that we're stacking our heel on top of the knee and then the other knee on top of the heel. So we're going to get that little bit of an alignment there. And then just even if you can see, notice that my top knee doesn't lay flush. So if you feel like you want just a little bit of support, you can always tuck a blanket or a yoga block under that leg. But if it feels okay to be in that slightly suspended position, then just keep it just as it is. But now we're going to bring the hands to the ground. We're going to push gently into the palms. So we create an upright lifted spine, and then we're going to lean the heart forward just to a point. So that top leg is going to, you might feel a little sensation in the outer edge of your hip, down into your glute or in your hip crease. So that's where we're shooting to find some sensation, but we want it to be a good sensation. So push into your palms. Find that nice long spine and then lean forward. And then once you found sensation in that hip or in your glute, stay there, don't go any further, and then see where can you invite softness in. So can you soften your inner thighs, relax your toes, soften your shoulders and your chest. Take a moment to assess. We're about halfway through our hold on this side. So if you feel like you've lost sensation and you want that little bit more, push into your palms so you keep that long uplifted spine, and then maybe you lean your heart forward just a little bit more, but only to the point that it feels like a good sustainable sensation. If you're feeling like it's really something fierce in that hip, then dial it back just a little bit and maybe even let your hand support the thigh so that it feels like it's not too much. But if you're good where you are, soften the muscle tissue best you can. Notice your breath. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start by just leaning your heart back. And then we're going to gently help that top leg off. So help it come off slow and mindful. Send it out nice and long. And then the bottom one comes out to meet. And then just give everything a little wiggle. Wiggle out your knees, wiggle out your ankles, let a little bit of movement come up into the thigh bone and up and towards the hips. And then get a sense of how that all felt. And then when we take it to the other side, you'll make the adjustments because one side might not be the same as the other. So when you feel ready, once you feel like you've got all of that worked out, taking the other leg on top. So we're stacking heel to knee, heel to knee. So once you've got that little bit of alignment, if you want, tuck a little yoga block or a blanket underneath that top side just so it feels supported. But if it feels good to be slightly suspended, leave it alone. And then once you're there, just lean your heart forward to a depth that feels good to you. Finding sensation in the outer edge of your hip, think side glute, maybe deep into your glute, just depending on where you feel tension. And then only go to a point where you start to feel sensation and then pause there and then invite softness in. See how can you soften your muscles? Maybe start with the inner thigh, let the inner thigh be soft. Soften your chest and your shoulders. We're about halfway through our hold on this side. So if you've lost sensation, think about pushing into the palms to create that long spine and then just lean your chest forward again, but only go to a depth where you start to find sensation again. But if it feels like it's too much, you might choose to dial it back a little bit, leaning backwards so that there's not as much pressure on. So choose to go to the depth that feels good to you. And then once you're there, invite that softness back in. Soften your muscles, soften your jaw. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, come up nice and slow. Start by gently helping that leg up and off, send it out nice and long, and then spin the other leg out to meet. So just legs nice and long, pop your ankles, move your knees, move your hips just a little bit, let everything kind of wiggle itself around. And then from here, I'm going to make a little switcheroo to the game plan, but we're going to take it into a puppy pose. So flip yourself over into all fours position, knees under the hips, wrists under the shoulders to start. And then just take a second to assess. Do you want to cushion your knees, take a blanket or double stack your mat? And then if all is feeling good, we're going to move right into puppy pose. So we're going to walk both hands to the top edge of the mat with your arms as wide as feels good to you. I personally like to step my hands nice and wide to the outer edges of my mat so my shoulders have like a nice place that they can sink into. But you choose the variation with your arms that feels good. Some people might choose to walk it in a little bit closer so the arms are a little closer to the ears, and some might choose to take it a little bit wider. And then once you've got the shape that feels good, invite that softness in. Let your forehead soften down. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly and mindfully bring yourself back up to your tabletop position. Maybe take a couple little cat cows here, just kind of bring that soothing movement back into the spine. And then just tonight, just so that nobody's feeling like if there's anything going on in the tummy area, we're going to lighten up just one of our poses. So instead of coming all the way down, belly down, and putting the blanket under the belly, we're just going to sit back onto the heels and make light little fists. And we're only going to do 5 breaths here rather than the full 3 minutes. So with those light fists, you're going to find that soft tissue of the belly. So lining up right about where the belly button would be is a good place to start. And then with that little bit of that light fist at the belly, you're just going to start to lean yourself forward. Now, everybody's going to go to a depth that looks a little different. So you're going to go to a point where you feel a light bit of compression on the belly. I can fold deep over and that feels really good to me, but you're just going to go to a point where you feel a little bit of sensation. And then once you're there, take about 5 nice deep breaths. As you take your deep breaths, can you allow the tissue of your belly to just be as soft as it can be? Tune in and notice that bit of movement underneath your hands as you breathe in and breathe out. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly, slowly, slowly come up, release your fist, and then just with your open palms, just give a couple of gentle rubs to the belly, circle in one direction, just to soothe all that out. Nice. And then when you feel like you've got your belly all soothed out, spin your legs around so that the soles of the feet can come together. Now we're going to take it into our butterfly fold. So soles of the feet together, knees out to the left and to the right. Get your sits bones situated so everything feels good. And then you're just going to fold yourself forward to a depth that works good for you, which might mean you're still in that upright position and your heart is only slightly forward. So, and then especially if you don't have a lot of external rotation in the legs, this is a nice place where you tuck some pillows around your thighs or tuck your blanket around so it feels really nice and supported. And then once you've got yourself into a position that works good for you, invite your softness back in. Soften your feet, soften your inner thighs. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly bring yourself up and out of that fold. Grab the outsides of your thighs, help your knees to come together, and then swish your knees a little side to side. Now from here, since we're making some little variations in our game plan, if you absolutely needed that lunge and you were like, I've been looking forward to that lunge all afternoon, then by all means, take your lunge in the more upright position. But for the rest of us who might feel a little bit more beneficial to take it down to the ground, we're going to roll our way down to the ground. Take your time as you come on down, and then we're going to take it into a little bit of a half happy baby situation. So start by just picking the right knee up and pulling the knee out slightly wide towards your right shoulder. This might be enough. You might be super happy here. This might be the great place for you to stay. If it feels good, but you want just a little bit of gravity working for you, you might choose to float your foot up, grabbing the blade edge of your foot or your big toe, or really whatever handhold works good for you. But now you're going to think about letting the knee sink a little bit deeper. And then whatever you like with that left leg, you might choose to keep it in that bent knee position or send it out nice and long. So you choose the depth of this pose that you like the best. And then once you've found your way there, invite some softness in. Soften your belly. With that handhold of the foot, you might find there is a bit of efforting that goes on with your hand and your arm. But even within that, can you let your shoulder get soft and heavy down towards the ground? Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we'll slowly bring it in. So if you're holding onto your foot or your big toe, release your hold, gently bring the knee in towards your chest, and then we're just going to move it a little bit. So take that knee, draw it in a couple of circles, go in one direction. And take your knee and draw it in circles, go the other way. Awesome. And then set that foot down, and then with just both feet on the ground, just some light windshield wipers, just to kind of bring that soothing back into that hip crease. And then once you feel like things have kind of worked themselves out, we're going to take it to the other side. So start by just pulling the left knee into your chest. This might be enough. You might choose to stay here. You might choose to slide your right leg nice and long. bringing a little space back into the front of that hip. You might choose to swing the knee out wide. You might choose to float the foot up, and then any other variation from there. So if that handhold works good for you, finding the blade edge or the big toe. And then if you like that right leg extended or you like it bent, that's just totally up to you, whatever feels good. Once you've got yourself into a position that you like, invite some softness in. Soften your inner thigh. Let your belly be soft and heavy. And don't feel bound to any symmetry here. So one side might have felt different and better to have one variation, and this side might feel better to have something different. So if you find that there's something here that didn't work on the other side, don't feel like you just absolutely have to hold it the same way both sides. Just allow your body to have those natural variations and then honor those things. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, start by releasing your handhold, pull the knee into your chest, right leg can slide in or extend long, just whatever feels good to you there. And then take that left knee, draw it in a couple of circles, go in one direction. Take that knee, draw it in circles, go the other way. Awesome. And then we're going to pull the right knee into the chest. So both knees are going to come into the chest with a light little gentle squeeze. And then just hang out here for a second or two, just to kind of get that sensation of creating some space in the low back, but compression through the front of the hips. And you might even feel a little compression on your belly. So notice your breath here for a moment. Take one more breath. Awesome. And then release your handholds from your knees. Legs are going to come into a sort of a bent 90-degree angle. And now we're going to take the knees and drop them over to the right. So maybe you let your arms open out nice and wide. Drop your knees over to the right. So we're going for that spinal twist. So then once your knees drop over to the right, if you like, right hand can press into the thighs so that they get just a little bit of extra leverage, and then find that comfortable position with the twist. Once you've got a twist that feels good, left shoulder is nice and heavy, thighs are over to the right and nice and heavy. And then see if you can just let your awareness come back to your breath. So take a nice generous inhale and notice the spaces in your body where the breath feels constricted. and notice where the breath feels free. And then if you can notice those subtle variations where your breath is free and where the breath is constricted, specifically in the places where the breath felt constricted, can you soften the muscles around those spaces? And then as you breathe, does it create a little bit more freedom for movement of breath in that space? Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, start to unwind. So if your head is turned all the way to the left, maybe bring your head back to center to start. Pull your knees up towards your chest. Maybe take a gentle little rock side to side just to kind of soothe out the low back if anything came up in that space. And then once you feel like you've kind of got it all soothed out, we're going to take it right to the other side. So knees together in that tabletop position, drop them over to the left. Let your legs find their way first. And then once you're there, if it feels good, you're going to let your left hand stack on top of the thighs so that it creates that little bit of leverage. Right arm opens out nice and wide, head turns to the right if that feels good. And then once you've got your way there, take a second to come back to your breath. Just notice first, just notice where in your breath feels constricted and where in your breath feels free. And then in that more constricted areas, can you invite some softness into the muscle tissue in those spaces? And then see if it frees the breath up. And there's no right or wrong. If your breath feels the same both ways, don't worry about it. It's just a little place where we can put our attention and our focus. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come out. So if your head was turned to the right, bring your head to center to start. Gently pull those knees back up to your chest, and then maybe take a little rock side to side. If it feels good, maybe you take your knees, draw them in a couple of circles, go in one direction. And maybe take those knees, draw them in circles, go the other way. Cool. And then as you find this gentle last bits of movement here, just ask your body where would be your best Shavasana. Would it feel good to offer a little support to the low back and take it into a constructive rest position? Would it feel good to take a more traditional shape with your legs nice and long? Or do you want that just extra action for the hips and maybe you take it into reclined cobbler's pose, soles of the feet together, knees out to the left and to the right, but preferably you tuck some pillows or blankets around your thighs so that they feel nice and supported. Whichever place you choose. If you're in a cooler room, maybe throw a sweater on or your socks, or maybe you just use a blanket as a blanket, but get yourself into a nice, comfortable position for your physical body, and then take all those other little care things into consideration. Once you're there, take a second to work out all your little wiggles. Make sure your toes feel good, your shoulder blades feel good, your tailbone feels happy. And then if it feels good to do so, close your eyes down. Allow your breath to come in and out at its natural rhythm. Soften your fingers and your toes. Soften your palms and the soles of your feet. Let your legs be soft and heavy. Allow your arms to be soft and heavy. Notice if you're holding tension in your hips or your belly, and if you are, see if you can invite some softness into those spaces. start to bring your awareness back into your body. If it feels good to do so, maybe just gently rock your head side to side, inviting a little gentle movement into the cervical spine and massaging out the back of your head. Take one more turn of your head side to side, and then as your head comes back to center, walk your feet in. So if your legs were nice and long, just walk them in so that there's a little bit of a bent knee situation. We just want to offer a little bit of support. And then once you feel like you're there, wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, just invite some little bit of movement into the outer edges of your limbs. And then we're going to reach the right arm up towards the sky. Like you're trying to reach for something on the ceiling. Like just take a nice bit of reach through the arm, maybe even let your shoulder lift, and then let your shoulder soften down. And then we're going to give the arm a good gentle shake. So just let your arm, your fingers shake, your wrists move just a little bit, and then just kind of feel and notice that sense of vibration that comes from that shaking of the arm. Take one more little shake. And then when you're ready, float that arm down alongside your body, take it to the other side. Take your left arm, reach it up, and then reach your arm like you're reaching for something on the ceiling. And then soften your shoulder down, soften your elbow, and then invite in a little shake. Shake that arm, just nice and gentle. Fingers are soft, wrists is soft, and then see if you can just kind of tune in and notice that little bit of vibration that happens down into your torso with that shake. Awesome. And then when you're ready, float that hand down, and now we're going to take it to pick up the right leg. So pick your right leg up and then just kind of push the whole leg up towards the ceiling. You can even push into your left foot just a little bit, and then relax your right leg down so the hips are solid on the ground. Soften your knee, and then invite a little shake in. Give that leg a good gentle shake, and then notice. You might notice that vibration down into your hips, into your belly. You might even feel it up into your lungs and in your chest. Cool. And then when you're ready, float that foot down to the ground, and we're going to take it to the other side. So left leg is going to lift up, push the heel up towards the ceiling, even push into the right foot just a little bit. And then once you feel like you've found that sense of length, soften your hip back down, soften your knee, and then give that leg a nice good shake. Awesome. One more breath here. And then when you're ready, float that foot down, and then slowly, gently, mindfully, in your own way, start to find your way up to a seated position. So you might choose to roll to one side or rock and roll up, just whatever gets you there and feels nice in your body. And then come up to a comfortable seat that works good for you. We just want a little access to the front of the chest and the neck. So find a nice tall seated position, whatever that means to you. Clap your hands together, fire up your palms, get them nice and good and hot. And then once your hands feel like they're nice and good and warm, open your hands up like a book, reach them up and overhead. See if you can touch the space between your shoulders, and then glide your hands toward your heart. Just a nice gliding motion, and then flick them out. Clap your hands back together, fire up your palms, get them nice and good and hot. Create a little heat all the way up into the shoulders. And then once you feel like your hands are nice and warm, open them up like a book, reach them up and overhead, touch the space between your shoulders, glide them toward your heart, flick them out, and then clap them back together. One last time. We're going to fire up those palms, get them nice and good and hot. Once you feel like your hands are nice and good and hot, open them up like a book, reach them up and overhead, touch the space between your shoulder blades, glide them toward your heart, flick them out, and then stack your hands right on top of your heart. Close your eyes down or soften your gaze. Take a moment to just tune back into your breath. Take a nice, generous inhale. Nice, slow exhale. Breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and the time that you take to take care of yourself. And breathe in a little extra love and gratitude that you can carry with you through the rest of your night and share with everyone you see. And then when you feel ready, gently lift up through the top of your head, gently open your eyes. I bow to you. Happy Monday. What a fun thing to skip those lunges altogether. I didn't mind that a bit.